I am really excited for today's episode because I feel like this is a part of my journey that I tend to skip over when I give the recap, just because it's not that sexy, it's not that exciting. I know a lot of therapists hate insurance, but for me, it was truly a lifeline that allowed me to quit my job and go full time in my practice quite quickly. It gave me a lot of financial stability. And so in today's episode, I want to break down how and why I got paneled through insurance, what getting off of insurance panels looked like for me, and how I made the transition from only having clients who are in network with insurance to having a full caseload of clients who paid me out of pocket $250 per session at the time. My rate's now $275 per session, but that happened like another year or two later when I did my sort of annual rate increase. So if you are already paneled with insurances, I want to start off with a disclaimer. Please check your insurance contracts. They are all different, but my understanding is that most, if not all, contracts require you to accept someone's insurance if you are paneled with them. And this does make it quite complicated to build a private pay caseload when you are accepting insurance. Because if a client comes to you with, let's say that you are paneled with Blue Cross and a client, you decide, I don't want to take any more insurance clients, I want to just take private pay, and a client comes to you seeking private pay, but they have Blue Cross, you cannot, per your insurance contract, see them out of network. It would put you in violation, right? You also are not allowed to balance bill or charge the difference between the rate that you are getting from insurance and your private pay rate. And so it sort of creates a situation where you are stuck because it makes it really hard to accept new clients who are private pay if you have to sort of try and like finagle around your insurance contract and make sure that you are not taking anyone who has your existing, insurances. Now, on the flip side, when I was paneled through insurance, I was paneled through a third-party company called Alma. You've probably heard me talk about them on the podcast before. They sponsor the podcast every week. This episode is not any more sponsored than previous episodes, but I did just want to sort of share a deeper dive here, as it is really, really helpful, and I truly think it is the best way that therapists can get paneled through insurance. And the reason why is that getting paneled from insurance via Alma is quite different than when you get paneled independently. I like to describe it almost as imagining that you are working at a group practice that is called Alma, right? So you are truly allowed to see clients, insurance with Alma through their group practice, and some on your own private pay. So I will give you an example. When I was paneled with insurance with Alma, I was paneled to see clients that had United insurance. And at the time I was living in New Jersey, I saw clients in New York and New Jersey, and I was getting paid about $125 per session for those clients. At some point, I decided I was going to stop taking new insurance clients, and I was able to turn off my Alma directories, turn off my Psychology Today, take insurance off my website, and I was able to focus on building a private pay caseload at that time. Now, I was still getting inquiries from people who were private pay. Some of them had United, some of them had Aetna, some of them had Blue Cross, but it didn't matter. I was still able to give all of those clients a super bill every month, and they were able to submit that to their insurance for reimbursement. And so even though I had some clients that were in network with Alma that I was getting paid $125 per session, I was also seeing other clients out of network. They were still paying me $250 per session, and United was reimbursing them for their out-of-network benefits and their coverage. And this is really, really unique and very different than how it usually works when you are paneled with insurance companies. And so if you are already paneled with insurance another way, I would definitely check your contract, see if you are allowed to do this, and if not, maybe get paneled through Alma and sort of create like a little bit more room for yourself to have a buffer and a transition period. I'm not sure if there's other companies that do things this way that Alma does. They're the only one that I personally know of and have personal experience with, but there may be other options out there as well. So in this episode, we are going to talk about how I did this specifically and sort of like the flexibility, the transition, how to know when I was ready, what those conversations looked like with clients, all of that. So backing up, when I was starting my private practice, I was not married at the time. I was living in New York City, I was working in nonprofit management, making 6 figures a year. I had a nice apartment, I had expenses, and I needed the income. I could not afford to just say I was going to quit my job without it. I really, really did need to replace the majority of my income in order for me to quit my job and have my own private practice. So some quick timeline and background stuff in case you're new here. When I was working in the nonprofit management, I started to see clients in the evening through a group practice. That group practice was primarily insurance-based, but we did not see clients through Alma. We actually saw them through another platform called Headway, but that's neither here nor there. About 6 months after that, in October 2020, I decided that I wanted to try to quit my job. So I stopped seeing new clients through the group practice. I gave them my notice. I had my own private practice at the time, and I started getting paneled through Alma and seeing clients independently there. At this time, I also started my Instagram page in October 2020 and started posting daily. And so when I made this decision for myself, like, okay, this is not just my evening side hustle. I want to go all in with this. I think I want to quit my job. I decided I was going to ramp up my marketing. I was going to stop seeing clients and getting only half of the pay via the group practice. And I was going to get paneled via insurance so that way I could create a financial safety net and get more clients on my caseload quite quickly. A few months later, I had a pretty solid income from insurance, and I gave notice at my job and went full-time in my own practice in February. So in October, I got paneled to see clients through insurance with Alma, and I was lucky enough to take some clients with me that had insurance through the group practice, and I also was getting clients on my own through Psychology Today and through Alma. And very quickly, I was able to get my income up from insurance from Alma to $6,000 a month by January 2021. So 3 months later, I had about $6,000 in monthly income coming from insurance from Alma. Now, at this point, I decided, okay, I'm not quite making, 6 figures a year. $6,000 a month would certainly have been an income cut for me, but I felt like I could maintain my bills, I could pay my rent, and I would be able to survive off that $6,000 a month. I had also not gotten any therapy clients from Instagram yet, but I was at about 1,000 followers. I felt like the momentum was growing. I was feeling really good about it. And I was really wanting to focus on going private pay. And so I decided that I was going to notify Alma that I was no longer accepting any new insurance clients. And I removed insurance from my Psychology Today and from my website as well. And I updated my fee to $250 per session on my website and was like, moving forward, I'm not taking any new insurance people. I am just focusing on private pay. So there was nowhere on my website or nowhere on my Alma profile or Psychology Today saying like my insurance-based caseload was full or anything like that. There was no mention of insurance. I knew that my existing clients that I already had, I was going to continue accepting their insurance for now. And anybody knew I was just a private pay practice moving forward. And so in January, I got my first private pay client. I got them at the end of the month, so we didn't start seeing each other until February. And in February, I got a total of 3 private pay clients. And so in addition to my $6,000 of monthly income from insurance, I also earned a few $1,000s from private pay clients. In March, I got 8 more private pay clients. And so at this point, I was earning still the same $6,000 from insurance, plus an additional $9,000 from private pay clients. And this is when I was like, okay, overall my income is about, let's say, $15,000. This is more than I was making previously. I'm at almost 10K months with just private pay clients alone. And I really felt comfortable at that point to start telling my existing insurance clients that I was going to get off of insurance panels. Now, at the time, I gave them 3 months notice. I would really suggest doing 2 months notice. It was not super helpful to do 3 months notice. We will talk a little bit later in the episode about exactly how I told insurance clients and what that process looked like. But sometimes I think less notice is actually better. In April, I continued to get a few more clients who are private pay. Now is up to $15,000 from private pay clients, plus an additional $6,000 from the same insurance-based clients. So at this point, my income is like $21,000. I had told most of my clients in March, but some of them, it just felt like the timing wasn't right. I was a little scared to tell them, or they were in crisis, or they were having like financial difficulties. And so I put off telling a few of them until April, and I actually ended up waiting to tell the final 2 until May. So I started to wind down my insurance-based clients in June, mostly the folks who I told in March. And then July, I had 2 final insurance clients. In August, I had 1 final insurance client that I finally wrapped up with. So that's sort of how I made the transition. I really wanted to make sure that I had enough income and stability, and I was able to get that very quickly with insurance. And then once I had it, I was like, okay, I have the income that I need. I have the stability that I need. If this doesn't work and I decide I need more clients, I can only live on $6,000 a month for so long. I can go back and I can start taking new insurance-based clients. But for now, I wanted to go all in on private pay. I wanted to go all in on Instagram, and I really wanted to go after those goals, and it worked quite quickly. Now, in terms of actually telling my existing clients that I was getting off of insurance, I was very, very, very nervous to do this. I felt like there's going to be a lot of judgment. A lot of my clients were not people who could afford to pay $250 per session out of pocket. I was working with, a very diverse group of people, like teachers, nurses, like a custodial worker, an opera singer, also some lawyers, some people who worked at Google or tech, right? It was a big diversity. Some people I was like, they could probably swing it, but I don't know if they're going to want to pay me that much. And other people I was like, they better have out of network benefits or they're never going to be able to afford this. And that was okay, right? I will say, so the way that I did it was I told clients at the end of session, and basically as we wrapped up the session at the end of I think I was actually doing 53-minute sessions at the time, not 45-minute sessions. So at the 53-minute mark, I was like, great. Before we hop off for today, I wanted to give you an update on my practice. I'm actually going to be getting off of insurance panels starting June 1st. And so I will not be taking your insurance anymore at that time. What that means is that my rate will be $250 per session moving forward. You may have out-of-network benefits that can help to supplement some of the costs of that. So I would definitely check with your insurance company about that. You're also welcome to pay with a health savings account or flexible spending account. Or if that doesn't work for you, no hard feelings. We can definitely talk about terminating or transferring you to another therapist or winding down the frequency of our sessions. Most clients looked at me like a deer in the headlights and said, okay. And I said, I know that that's a lot to process. I'm going to go ahead and email you this information so you have it and you can look it over, and let's talk about it more at the next session. And then at the next session, I asked folks, hey, did you get a chance to look it over? I wanted to see how you're feeling about me getting off of insurance panels. And some people were like, yeah, I think I can probably make it work. I'll let you know for sure as it gets closer. Other people were like, yeah, it's not going to work for me, unfortunately, but I'm okay with us ending therapy in the next 3 months. I really want to work on X, Y, and Z until then, or ask for a recommendation or that kind of thing. Now, the reason why I said I don't typically recommend anymore giving people 3 months notice is that a lot of folks also were like, yeah, I'll look into it as it gets closer. But there was not really a firm deadline. It felt very far away in their minds because it was far away. It was 3 months away. And so it wasn't until we were really 3 to 4 weeks out that most of my clients actually started contacting insurance companies and really deciding one way or the other, were they going to continue our work together? Did they want a referral, or were they going to end therapy altogether at that point in time? And so I would probably recommend just giving a little bit of a shorter time, just so that way it's a little bit more focused. You can really actually talk about terminating and making a plan there, but of course you still want to have time. You don't want to give clients 2 weeks or 4 weeks or something. You want to have time to wrap up the work if they are not able to make it work. I will say for me personally, about a third of my clients stayed and continued on to see me out of network, and about 2/3 left. 1/3 asking for referrals, and 1/3 sort of just naturally winding down therapy at that time. I will say I think that that's probably on the lower end. A lot of the therapists that I see inside a private practice academy end up getting 50, 60, 70, 80% of people sticking with them. So I think a little bit of it depends on how high your private pay fee is going to be. And then also what stage of life your clients are in, what their income is, how good their benefits are, all of that. So it really will vary. But I would say on the low end, you can probably expect to keep about a third of folks. Okay, so let's recap with a little bit of advice. If you are somebody who is currently seeing clients in network with insurance, I recommend first off checking to see how you are paneled. If you are not able to see clients out of network With that same insurance, I would recommend looking into getting paneled through Alma or something similar so that you can have more flexibility and build a private pay caseload before you have to terminate with all of your existing insurance clients. Let's say that you're paneled through Alma, or you're like, okay, check, I'm going to do that step next. Once you have stability with your income, with the amount of clients that you are seeing with insurance, I would suggest stopping taking new insurance clients, right? You can do that by telling Alma you're not taking any new insurance clients and removing the information about insurance from your website, Psychology Today, any other directories that you're on, and not mentioning insurance anywhere. Take all new clients at your new private pay fee. And please make sure that there is a big enough difference between what you are getting with insurance and what you are setting your private pay rate at, that it is worth the extra energy you are going to spend marketing. If you are making $125 a session with insurance and you're going to charge $150 private pay, I honestly think you're wasting your time. You're going to spend way more time marketing yourself, and you are barely going to get more per session. I really do think it's worth being at least $50 over what you would get with insurance, if not more. I went from $125 to $250, so I doubled my rate per session. And so any extra time on Instagram, I was so happy to be doing because it paid off tenfold. Then when you feel good about the number of private pay clients that you are getting, you feel like you have some trust that it wasn't just like a one-time fluke, a one-time reel that went viral. You are getting some new clients with some consistency, whether that's one a week, two a month, but you're kind of seeing a consistent pattern here, and you feel good that you could live off of the income that you were getting just from private pay, then I would start talking with your existing clients about getting off of insurance panels. I recommend giving them 2 months notice and taking it from there. Do not pull the plug too early if you need the income. Make sure that you have enough income first from insurance before starting to market yourself private pay if you need to get clients, if you need to build a base. And then secondly, make sure that you have enough income just from private pay before you inform your insurance clients that you're leaving. Let yourself get private pay clients first. Invest your time and energy into learning how to do this, because for some people it happens quite quickly. Some people pick up on marketing fast. Some people have been doing Instagram for a while already. They have a built-in community. They have built-in referral sources. And other people, it takes more time, right? But it is really important that you know that you have the skill, that you have the network or the community, whether that's on Instagram or through referrals, to get private pay clients before you get off of insurance panels. And if that's not working for you, I suggest either investing more time, like just letting more time pass and continuing to show up, investing more energy. Maybe it's like posting more frequently or trying other marketing techniques. Maybe it's learning, whether that's with one of my programs like the Reels membership or the Private Practice Academy bundle, but getting support and making sure that you are chalking off that milestone of getting private pay clients before you give notice for insurance, because it is a very different ballgame to get clients for insurance who are often just like doing a general vibe check because there's not that many providers that take insurance or have availability. And paying $250 per session, people want to know you are the best of the best. They want to know that they really vibe with you. They want to feel like you specialize in exactly what they need. And it does just take a different type of approach to your marketing. And then lastly, I will say you do not have to do it all at once. So I briefly touched on this, but I told clients that I was getting off of insurance panels over the course of 2 or 3 months. I started off by telling some folks who felt easy, like either they were going to be able to make it work or they were kind of naturally wrapping up therapy anyways. And then, the ones who were like more in crisis, or I didn't think we're going to take it as well, or I knew for sure we're not going to be able to afford it, I waited a little bit to tell them. I waited till things were more stable. I waited till we are kind of at a natural pause in their work. I waited till there was a session where they weren't crying at the end of it, right? All of those things. And that is okay. So you do not have to do it all at once. You can give yourself a few weeks or a few months, even if you are somebody who's a little scared like I was, and make progress little by little. The time will fly way faster than you think. Even with everything I laid out of like, I was making, $6,000 a month with insurance, and I started to get private pay. I still earned $250,000 that first year in 2021, right? So even with taking insurance, even with having these buffers and telling people slowly and having some people continue on, I made very good money that first year. And, at the time it felt slow. At the time it felt like I wasn't making progress fast enough. Why can't I just spit this out and tell everybody and get on with it already? But I'm so proud that I did right by my clients. I did right by myself. I was able to do what I needed for my own nervous system. It can be really scary to disappoint people. And so that is my story of how I got off of insurance panels and built a caseload of private pay clients from Instagram who were willing and excited to pay me $250 per session. I hope that this podcast episode was helpful. If you are interested in learning more about Alma, I'm going to include their link in the show notes, as well as a PDF document that they gave me outlining exactly how you can see clients out of network while also being paneled in network with them, because I know that's quite confusing for some folks. And I asked them to put it in writing so you're not just hearing it from me. So I will include that for you as well. And I will talk to you all soon.